Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about where does COD go now? Because it seems like they've tired out every period in which they could put a soldier in the fight. Those periods, of course, being World War II, the modern era, the futuristic warfare. And so where haven't they been? I think first when taking a look at this, they need to take a break. And like most of you have probably already seen, they have announced that no new COD game will be coming out next year. I know for one thing that I think there's a lot of room for expansions and remasters, especially if they don't really have any ideas for games. Now, personally, I know I'd like to see like a Black Ops 1 or maybe a Black Ops 2 or even World at War remastered. They could just polish it a little bit, make it look nice, add in some DLC maps for free, especially like zombies and multiplayer maps. And I think players could get some nice replay value out of that. I know, especially when I was like watching some of the DLC maps and stuff on YouTube, I definitely think that it would be really cool to play on those, except I don't really want to pay for it. With them being so old, I feel like at least if they're not going to make them free, at least reduce the price in some way. As far as expansions, I see a lot of potential. What if we went and saw Adler and Sims, or rather played through what they were doing in Vietnam as they were hunting down Perseus? What if we got to play as Bell while he was a Russian soldier in Perseus's circle? What if we got to play as Mason or Woods while they were away in Kiev for like the first part of the campaign? What if we played as Bell, going on missions or going to do missions for the people in Perseus' circle, and we got to go on missions like with Arash or something, and we get to see where all Arash's hatred for Bell comes from after he gets praised by Perseus for going on successful missions, and we can see what led to him getting shot in that car, which ultimately turned him into a spy for the CIA and began the plot of Cold War. We could take this and even apply it to Black Ops 1. What if we got to play as Bowman or maybe Woods while they were in Vietnam without Mason? And we got to see some of the missions that they did and what they were doing while they were there. What if we played a mission where we assaulted the same complex that Sims and Bell did in Cold War? And yes, I know Bell wasn't actually there, but that's besides the point. And we found an Easter egg of like some more intel that was left behind by Sims when they assaulted there, and that would be like a really cool way to connect them. Again, we could apply this to Modern Warfare. At the end of Modern Warfare 2019, Price meets up with Laswell and he's like, oh, I want Soap and Simon Riley, he's Ghost, but this is classified, that's classified. And I think that's really cool. So like, why don't we explore their background, Why don't we see who Task Force 141 was and what they were doing before they became Task Force 141? What if we explored the relationship between Makarov and Price and see where their rivalry came from? At the beginning of Modern Warfare 2, we can clearly understand that Shepard sees Makarov as like this highly valued target that he wants to take out or at least get under control in some way. But we never understand where like Makarov and Price seem to know each other so well from, because we can clearly tell from Modern Warfare 2 that they have some sort of history. I'm sure this, as well as many other, theories and ideas could be explored, some that I haven't thought of, but maybe the people watching this video or others who haven't have already thought of. Now, with that, there is the possibility of just wearing this out. This has been proven recently with the World War II games. Although I think they could have done it and actually have done it successfully, people really weren't looking for just another World War II game, which is where I think they messed up and which is where everybody thinks they messed up. Now, expansions and remasters are good and all, but there obviously has to be games to play. You can only go so far with DLCs, expansions, and all that kind of stuff. So my solution for this, I think, is a Modern Warfare 4. I do definitely think there's potential for it. Now, spoilers ahead if you haven't played the game, but with Soap dead, with Makarov dead, with the Russian president saved, it's like, well, the US and Russia are now in good relations. Makarov is dead. What else is there to go on? And that's a valid point. At the end of Modern Warfare 3, Makarov is dead, but his cause might not be. We can definitely tell Makarov has a huge following. He has a bunch of soldiers, he has influence, he has power. And what if Activision went with a plot where, like, there's an insurgency, you know? The current president, which is the one that we saved, is all kind of like friendly towards the US for saving him. They're in good relations, but people wanted to see Makarov and his plans get carried all the way through. So we can kind of see that the actions in like Modern Warfare, the first one in COD 4, are mirrored with like what's happening now. You know, he becomes a martyr almost, and in this like revolutionary action, the people kind of rise up against their leader in an anti-U.S. way, and to carry out Makarov's plan, put their own person in power who, you know, represents their ideals. And then we get to see the full-scale invasion of Russia by the U.S., where the U.S. finally takes action against not Makarov, but the Russian government itself, you know, like for what they did in the past, and to suppress like this new uprising. This would be the U.S. counterattack, and then we'd get to see like Price, you know, maybe he can go in behind like enemy lines and set things up for the full-scale invasion. So it's something like, you know, it's not these small covert teams taking on armies. Rather, Price is playing like a major part, but he's not fighting the war by himself. He's not doing everything by himself. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about was playing from the enemy's point of view. Now, in my opinion, like, think about what if Vanguard, instead of, you know, whatever the frick that was, what if we played as like Hitler's, you know, heir, or, well, not heir, but you know what I mean, his heir, or like a German soldier, or like a Japanese soldier, realizing that your side is losing the war, but you still have to fight. As a German soldier, you could be hearing about the Allies moving in from the west, you know, the capture of Normandy, even though it was like your best defense that you could possibly set up, the Allies still broke through. The Russians counterattacking from the east, having taken more ground, but like, you still have to fight. And that emphasizes the points that like war made when they were talking about like the old, the weak, and the young, you know? You'd be playing as this teenager or this like older dude, and just you're not fit for combat, yet all your colleagues, all these people who aren't even supposed to be fighting, are being pushed towards the front line in a last desperate defense to hold some sort of power in the war. As a Japanese soldier, you could be maybe closer to the mainland, and you could be hearing about all these islands that your country once held that are being taken over by the US. You could be hearing about the Germans failing on their front, and realizing that not only your country is losing, but your entire faction, everything you're fighting for, is losing. You could hear about Italy switching to the ally side, and just realizing you have less and less allies, yet the whole Japanese image, or not like image necessarily, but like having to be courageous and honorable, and, you know, death before dishonor, and having to maintain that while still losing. Now, with this year that COD will be taking off from making a new game, I think that's perfect. I think even the die-hard COD fans are in agreement that like maybe they should just chill for a second and brainstorm, really come up with something that people are gonna like, and then come back next year or the year after, with something really good. This period of COD is really like uncertain, you know, because whatever they come back with, they need to come back like hard, you know. that sounds really weird, but you know what I mean. They need to come up with something that's going to engage their audience, that's not going to be recycled, that's going to be engaging, and that people are going to be able to get into and like, you know. Like I previously outlined, I think some remasters and expansions are some really good ideas, and I do see potential for Modern Warfare 4. I do also think that maybe switching perspectives, you know, because we always play from, well, the good guys' side. But with that being said, thank you for watching. Let me know your opinions if you feel so inclined in the comments below, and I will see you next time.